Have you ever felt like you're living on autopilot? Like something beneath the surface is quietly steering your decisions, your reactions, your entire life, and you can't quite put your finger on it. You tell yourself you'll change. You set goals. You reflect. You try again. But no matter what you do, you seem to loop back to the same patterns, the same toxic relationships, the same self-doubt, the same anger or guilt or shame. As if life is scripted and you're stuck playing a part you didn't choose. What if I told you that it isn't bad luck? It isn't random. There's something within you, a force that remembers every fear you've ignored, every desire you've buried, every part of you that you've disowned just to survive. It's not evil, but it is powerful. Carl Jung called it the shadow, and it might be running your life. Jung believed that the greatest danger we face isn't something outside of us, but the parts of ourselves we refuse to see. The shadow is formed from everything we hide, every unacceptable thought, every unwanted emotion, every mask we've worn for too long. And while you pretend it's not there, it moves in silence. Until you confront it, until you bring it into the light, it will shape your story without your awareness. This isn't mysticism. It's the psychology of your soul. In this video, you're not just going to learn about Jung. You're going to meet the part of yourself you've been avoiding your entire life. And if you have the courage to keep watching, you may finally understand the real reason you're stuck. Because the enemy you've been running from might be you. We like to believe we're rational, that with enough knowledge we can fix our problems, that better habits will solve everything, that logic will lead us to peace. But most people aren't led by logic. They're led by wounds, by the pain of being unseen, by the shame of not being enough, by the fear of being rejected. These don't go away with time. They sink, and from the depths, they silently run the show. Carl Jung spent his life studying those depths. He believed that the true danger of humanity isn't out there. It's the unconscious, the parts of ourselves we refuse to face. You might think you're in control, but if you've ever reacted in rage and later thought, "I don't know what came over me," you've met your shadow. If you've ever pushed away something good because it felt uncomfortable, that was it too. The shadow is not evil. It's not your enemy. But if you deny it, it will become one. It hides in your defense mechanisms. It fuels your addictions. It whispers lies that feel like truth. I'm not good enough. I'll always be alone. If they really knew me, they'd leave. And when you believe those voices, you shape a life around them. Relationships that confirm your worthlessness. Jobs that keep you small. Habits that numb rather than heal. This is the cycle Jung warned us about. The unconscious directing our lives while we call it fate. We think we're unlucky, but often we're repeating emotional blueprints we never chose. We're living stories written by fear, shame, and trauma. And until you stop and look within, you will keep living someone else's script. The war you're fighting isn't new. It didn't start last year or last month. It started the moment you began hiding parts of yourself to feel safe. You can't outrun it. You can't outthink it. You can only face it. Because the shadow isn't here to destroy you. It's here to reveal you. But only if you're willing to see what you've spent your whole life avoiding. There's a version of you that you've never truly met. Not the one you show at work. Not the one your friends know. Not even the one you think you are. It's the part you've pushed into the dark because it didn't feel acceptable or lovable or safe. Carl Jung called it the shadow, and it's made of everything you were told not to be: your anger, your envy, your neediness, your desire for power, your fears, your arrogance, your pride, but also your creativity, your intuition, your sensuality, your truth. The shadow isn't just your darkness, it's your wholeness, exiled. We learn early how to split ourselves. We become the version of us that gets love, praise, approval. We smile when we're hurting. We stay quiet when we want to scream. We become good at the cost of becoming real. So we bury parts of ourselves to survive. And what we bury becomes unconscious. But the unconscious doesn't die. It doesn't forget. It waits. You feel it in overreactions that shock you, in guilt that follows moments of joy, in the parts of others that infuriate you, because you see your own denied self in them. You feel it in the repeated storylines. Why does every relationship end the same way? Why do I always sabotage when things go well? Why do I feel numb when I should feel alive? That's the shadow. Not attacking, but expressing. Because what isn't processed is repeated. And the shadow doesn't just shape your emotions. It writes your narrative. It can make you fall for people who mistreat you, because deep down, it believes that's what you deserve. It can hold you back from opportunities because it whispers, "You're not ready." It can drain your joy because it fears what will happen if you let go. But here's what changes everything. The shadow isn't the villain. It's the part of you that was never given a voice. And once you listen to it, not obey, but understand, it begins to soften. It begins to release its grip. Inside the shadow is everything you thought made you unworthy, but actually makes you whole. It's where your rawness lives, your depth, your unfiltered truth. It's the part of you that feels deeply, that knows instinctively, that creates freely. The shadow isn't something to fight, it's something to integrate. And integration doesn't mean perfection, it means peace. It means ending the inner war, owning your contradictions, finding beauty not despite your flaws, but within them. This is the beginning of becoming real. Because once you reclaim the parts of you that were lost, you stop living as a mask and start living as yourself. Most people believe their mind is a private place, that their thoughts are their own, that their fears, dreams, and desires come solely from their upbringing or experiences. But Carl Jung shattered that illusion. He discovered something beneath the personal unconscious, a deeper realm, vast and ancient. He called it the collective unconscious. It's not a metaphor, it's a psychological reality. Jung described it as a vast underground network that connects all human beings, not through language or culture, but through symbols, through instincts, through patterns that existed long before you were born and will exist long after you're gone. Imagine your mind as a house. Everything you remember lives in the rooms, your childhood, your beliefs, your wounds. But beneath that house lies a hidden foundation, a massive dark sea that stretches beyond you. That's the collective unconscious, and it contains the shared memories of humanity. That's why people from different continents, across different eras, created myths that look the same. The hero's journey, the wise mentor, the underworld, the rebirth. These stories aren't just coincidence, they're reflections of deep psychic architecture. They live in your dreams, in your fantasies, in the characters you're drawn to, in the stories that haunt you. They're not random, they're echoes of something deeper. Jung believed that within this collective layer are primordial images. He called them archetypes. They are like invisible molds shaping how we think, feel, and behave. And the most haunting part, you might live your whole life playing out the story of one of these archetypes without ever knowing it. You're not just carrying your own pain, you're carrying patterns passed down for generations. Patterns of fear, of abandonment, of redemption. Even your dreams may not be entirely yours. They speak in symbols older than memory. Wolves, rivers, caves, mirrors. They are messages from a realm you were born knowing, then taught to forget. You are not alone in your psyche. And the moment you realize that, your story begins to change. Because healing isn't just personal, it's ancestral, it's archetypal, it's collective. And the more you understand this deeper realm, the more clearly you begin to see. Your life is not chaos. It's a map. You've just been reading it in the wrong language. You're not the only one living inside your mind. At times, you feel brave, ready to take on anything. Other times, you feel small, wounded, desperate to be loved. Then, without warning, a sharp voice inside you takes control. Defensive, cold, withdrawn. What if those shifts aren't random? Carl Jung believed that deep within every human psyche live universal patterns, ancient psychological characters that express themselves through you. He called them archetypes. They're not fantasies or roles you play. They're structures of the soul, forces so old, so deeply embedded that you don't just imagine them, you become them. There's the hero who pushes through pain to prove something. The caregiver who sacrifices for others but secretly feels invisible. The rebel who fights every system but fears building something lasting. The wounded child who still cries for the love that never came. There's the anima and animus, your inner feminine and inner masculine. Not gendered traits, but deep polarities of feeling and reason, softness and strength, meant to be integrated, not split. And of course, there is the shadow, the guardian of everything you've denied. Here's what's terrifying. These archetypes don't ask for permission. When unconscious, they take the wheel. They act out their story through your voice, your choices, your life. Ever caught yourself in a heated moment thinking, why am I doing this? That wasn't logic. It was the archetype, the critic, the abandoned child, the silent protector. Archetypes aren't flaws, they're blueprints. Each holds a lesson, a tension, a truth. But left unexamined, they write your story for you. And you wake up years later wondering how you became someone you never meant to be. Some people live and die inside one archetype. Always the warrior, always the victim, always the caretaker, never free. The goal isn't to destroy these characters, it's to know them, to learn their voice, to choose when they speak and when they step aside. Because when you meet them consciously, they become allies, and you become something rare in this world. A human being no longer run by a script, but guided by awareness. You are not broken, you are many, and all of them are waiting to be heard. Most people live their lives as fragments. One version for work, another for family, one for strangers, and one they try to silence at night. They adapt, adjust, perform, smile when they're breaking, numb when they should feel, conform when they want to scream. And beneath it all, there's a question, often unspoken, but always present. Who am I really? Carl Jung believed that the answer to that question wasn't found in a job title, a relationship, or even a belief system. He believed it could only be found through a process he called individuation. Individuation is the journey of becoming whole. It's not about self-improvement. It's not about fixing your flaws. It's not about becoming your best version. It's about becoming your true self. The version of you that isn't split into pieces, that doesn't reject the shadow or deny the soul. The version that is integrated, aware of every part, and ashamed of none. Jung saw the psyche as a living system, a dynamic balance of opposites, masculine and feminine, order and chaos, light and shadow, thought and instinct, strength and vulnerability, structure and surrender. When these forces are denied, they don't disappear. They collide, and that collision creates suffering, anxiety, depression, addiction, emptiness, repetition, a constant feeling that something is missing, but you can't say what. That ache? It's not weakness, it's a signal, a callback to your forgotten center. Because when those opposites are seen, when they're felt and accepted, not judged, they become allies. Each one becomes a piece of your truth. This is what individuation offers. Not perfection, but peace. A deep, grounded sense of alignment. It begins when you stop chasing approval and start chasing truth. When you stop asking, how do I become what they want? And start asking, what part of me have I buried just to survive? It's not a comfortable path. It requires shedding old identities, facing grief, dismantling illusions, letting parts of you die so something more real can be born. But the alternative is numbness, disconnection, a life that looks fine on the outside but feels hollow inside. Individuation is not becoming someone else. It's remembering who you are beneath the noise. And here's the secret. Your shadow, your wounds, your rage, your dreams, they're not mistakes. They are invitations, clues, doorways, initiations. You just weren't taught how to follow them. Most will ignore them, numb them, mock them. But a few, those who are willing to go inward, who are willing to break open and begin again, those people will find something deeper than happiness. They'll find wholeness, not because they figured it all out, but because they stopped running from the truth. And in that truth, they became free. You've spent years trying to become someone better, someone acceptable, someone others would love, respect, admire. And in that process, you may have lost sight of something essential, yourself, the quiet parts, the wild parts, the sacred chaos, the broken truths, the voice that was always there, beneath the noise. Carl Jung didn't offer shortcuts. He didn't promise peace without pain. What he gave was far more honest, a mirror. And that mirror doesn't just show who you are. It shows what you've hidden, what you've feared, what you've avoided. And it also shows what's been waiting. Because deep beneath the layers you've built, beneath the persona, beneath the performances, something alive still breathes, something unbroken, something real. Maybe it's just a flicker, a dream that won't die, a memory you can't shake, a question that keeps returning when everything else is quiet. Who were you before the world told you who to be? That's not a rhetorical question. That's your path. You are not just your trauma, not just your shadow, not just the stories you've repeated. You are the one who sees it all. And once you see, really see, what you've been running from, it stops having power over you. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about remembering that you were always more than what you showed. That wholeness isn't found in perfection, it's found in honesty. And if something in you stirred while hearing this, then trust that. Because the soul speaks softly, but it speaks the truth. And maybe, just maybe, that truth has been waiting for you to come home.